Good evening. This is the second in a series of short videos about Celtic and their historic achievements. The first one dealt with COVID season 2020, handed a league title on a plate, and how that didn't fit in with previous experiences of the Scottish League. I illustrated how Dunfermline managed to escape relegation with 6 games left, when had the league ended as it did in 2020, they would have been relegated. And the point I'm making is a season's not finished till it's finished. A league season's not finished till it's finished. Well, in 2020 that rule was well and truly binned. But this one's more specifically about what most people, if not everybody, considers Celtic's greatest achievement, winning the European Cup in 1967. We never hear the end of it. It's everywhere, and people like me might be regarded as essentially trying to belittle that achievement, and I'm not, but I do think it should be put in some kind of perspective. 1967, Lisbon, Celtic played 9 matches to win the European Cup. A list of them. They played Zurich in the first round, FC Zurich, aggregate score 5-0. Played FC Nantes from France in the second round, aggregate score 6-2. No big deal about either of those. First challenge was the quarter final when they played Vojvodina, and they won 2-1 in aggregate. And then the semi-final they played Dukla Prague, where they had a spirited performance in Prague, obtaining a 0-0 draw. That, of course, was in the days when Prague was still behind the Iron Curtain. So that made these games even more difficult. And basically the first team they met of any substance, one might say politely, was Inter Milan in the final. And that was a remarkable result. I'm not suggesting otherwise. But they got to the final by playing against teams that you would expect them to beat. Contrast that to the next Scottish team that got to a final and won it. Celtic also got to the 1970 European Cup final, but they didn't win that one. Rangers got to the 1972 Cup Winners' Cup final at the Nou Camp in Barcelona, and this was their route. They played Rennes of France in the first round. They then played in the second round Sporting Lisbon. That was a strange game because that ended up 6 each on aggregate after a home and away leg. Sporting Lisbon then won the penalty kicks before it was pointed out to the referee that Rangers had won on away goals, and therefore the penalty kick shouldn't have taken place. Very unusual. But Sporting Lisbon were a fair side that clearly gave Rangers, to say the least, a run for their money. The next round Rangers played Torino from Italy, hardly any mugs. A 2-1 aggregate, before getting to the semi-final where they played Bayern Munich in the spring of 1972. So Rangers are in the semi-final of the 1972 Cup Winners' Cup, and they've got Bayern Munich, a team that you would expect them to seriously struggle to beat. Not only that, this Bayern Munich side in question had 6 players who went on to form the West German World Cup squad in 1974. Sepp Maier, Beckenbauer, Breitner, Roth, Hoeneß and Gerd Müller, the famous Gerd Müller. So these 6 guys played at Ibrox in April 1972, and Rangers famously won 2-0, Derek Parlin scoring his first goal, and from memory Sandy Jardine scored a goal in the first minute or so. That was an excellent result against a side that you wouldn't expect Rangers necessarily to defeat. That then led to the final against Moscow Dynamo. 9 matches, Rangers win Cup Winners' Cup. Move on to 1983, when Aberdeen are in the final of the same competition, Cup Winners' Cup. They had to play 11 matches, not 9, albeit the first one was against Sion of Switzerland, and that was an 11-1 aggregate, so it would be fair to say that wasn't a difficult game. But nonetheless, you shouldn't dismiss any game against the European opposition. They then went in the first round proper to play Dinamo Tirana from Albania, which again was at a time when Albania was behind the Iron Curtain. Certainly not an easy tie. Followed in the second round by Lech Poznan of Poland. Not an easy tie. They won that 3-0. Before, in the quarter-final, they also met Bayern Munich. Now, Aberdeen against Bayern Munich, if you think about it, there's no question who is the potentially stronger side. And this is 1983, Fergie's in charge, Bayern Munich, solid team, and Aberdeen were actually on the way out of that competition had they not scored 2 goals against Bayern Munich at Pataudry in the late 70th minutes. They scored 2 goals in quick succession and took them through to the next round, which was the semi-final. A remarkable result, quite remarkable. They played Waterschei of Belgium in the semi-final before meeting the mighty Real Madrid in the final, and we all know what happened there. A quite remarkable performance, and arguably the finest performance by any Scottish team in Europe. Quite dramatic, quite difficult, serious opposition all the way through to the final. And to cap it all, Aberdeen won another trophy, the Super Cup, so they remain the only Scottish team to have won 2 European trophies, a fact that's largely ignored in light of Lisbon. Finally, 1987, Dundee United get to the final of the UEFA Cup, which they don't win, that has to be said. But if you look at their route to the final, they played Lens of France 2-1 in the first round, then played University Craiova from Romania 3-1. That would be a tough tie. Dundee United behind the Iron Curtain again. Hajduk Split, no mugs from Yugoslavia in the third round. Then they play Barcelona in the quarter-finals, home and away, and won both of them. Now that is quite astonishing. A side like Dundee United would be able to beat Barcelona with its Linekers and its Mark Hugheses, beat them twice. Long forgotten, when Celtic beat Barcelona in 2012, everything was made out this was the finest result in their history, next to Lisbon. Well, Dundee United did it twice in the 1980s, and actually further back they beat Barcelona twice in the 1960s. These are incredible results for a team of the size of Dundee United. They then moved into the semi-final in 1987, where if anything they exceeded the result in Barcelona by playing Borussia Mönchengladbach and knocking them out of the competition as well in the semi-final before getting to the final, which was a home and away affair, and they couldn't make it against Gothenburg. That was 11 matches, and these games against Barcelona and Borussia Mönchengladbach, for those of us who remember them, were absolutely the finest performance by a Scottish club team that I can think of. But they're all forgotten in the light of Lisbon, and that was really all I was trying to say. It's not that I'm belittling Lisbon, I'm just saying some of the other results from some of the other Scottish teams playing in Europe, getting to the final, were certainly comparable, if not better. And that was it. That's basically my point. The next one I'll have a look at is referees, the famous referees. Thank you.